So let's talk about the test you keep failing. We're going to dive into a really powerful way of thinking that says the reason we keep hitting the same walls isn't about changing the world around us, but about changing ourselves.
You know that feeling, right? It's that same problem at work, that same tough conversation, that same personal hurdle that just keeps coming back. It feels like you're stuck in a loop, running at the same wall over and over. But what if the problem isn't the wall itself, but the way you're running at it? Well, the philosophy we're looking at today says the answer is actually deep inside you, and it all starts with one really profound idea.
Now, this is the core of it all. The world isn't just randomly happening to you. This way of thinking argues that the challenges you face, how tough they are, what they feel like, are a direct reflection of the energy you've been putting out there all along. And that leads us to our first big principle. The world is your mirror. Now, this isn't about blaming yourself. It's about a fundamental law of cause and effect. The world, according to this philosophy, simply matches the frequency you're broadcasting. It's a mirror. Think about it like this. If you go through your day being hard, forceful, and demanding, trying to muscle your way through everything, the world just gears up to meet you with that exact same hard, forceful energy. But if you cultivate a softer, more composed, more yielding approach, kind of like water flowing around a rock, life's challenges tend to show up in a much softer, more manageable way. It's a direct feedback loop. What you give is what you get.
Okay, so if the world is just a mirror, how in the world do you change the reflection? Well, you don't fight the mirror, right? You have to change the person making the reflection. And this requires a really conscious decision, a vow of self-cultivation.
So what does that really mean in practice? Well, the source material suggests a symbolic period for this inner work, 3 years. Now, this isn't some literal deadline you have to hit. It's a powerful metaphor. It represents a real, significant commitment to deep inner work, a period where you intentionally stop trying to force outcomes, and instead you focus completely on mastering your own inner state.
To really get what this inner work is all about, there's this brilliant Korean concept called gongbu. Now, here in the West, when we hear study, we think of books, right? Classrooms. But gongbu is way deeper. It's the active daily practice of refining your character. So for a CEO, it might be practicing patience in a stressful meeting. For a writer, it's pushing through a creative block without letting ego get in the way. It's the real-world application of that inner work.
And this is where it all gets super practical and kind of cool. Once you commit to this period of gongbu, the universe doesn't just, leave you alone in a library to study. It starts sending you pop-up exams. The source calls them field studies, and they're designed to test your progress out in the real world. So imagine this cycle. You're deep in your study period, you're practicing your gongbu every day, and then boom, a real-world problem pops up. But because you've been doing the inner work, you handle it with this new sense of calm, this new competence, and you succeed. But, and this is so important, that success isn't the finish line. It's just the setup for the real test. This moment, right here, is where most people fail the test they don't even know they're taking. Because right after you have a victory, that's when the biggest temptation shows up. So picture it. You just nailed that task. You handled it perfectly. And almost immediately, someone comes to you with a bigger, better, shinier offer. It looks like the perfect next step, totally tailored to your ambitions. So what do? Because this single choice right here can literally define your entire future. You really only have 2 paths. Path 1 is the trap. You immediately grab that tempting new offer, you focus on the short-term personal gain. If you do that, your inner growth, it just stops, dead in its tracks. You might get good at that one thing, but you're not going any higher. The other path, the path of real growth, is to handle that first task, let someone else take the credit for it, and immediately go back to your gongbu, back to your inner study. See, that choice, to go back to your studies instead of chasing the next shiny thing, that's what activates what the source calls the law of true growth. It's a decision that has these huge compounding effects, and it aligns you with something much bigger and more powerful. What you have to understand is that every single time you succeed at something, and then humbly step back to keep working on yourself, you are compounding your wisdom. You're building something way more valuable, way more permanent than any single promotion or award could ever be. So what's a payoff for all this discipline? Well, for one, you start to build this kind of invisible, unbreakable credit. In Korean, it's called shinyeong. Think of it like a deep cosmic trust or reputation. You become known on a fundamental level as a person who succeeds because you never try to act beyond your current level of mastery. And as you pass these little tests over and over, the philosophy says that greater forces, a kind of higher consciousness, they start to notice you. They see your journey and start to support your growth. Ultimately, this teaches us that the challenges we face aren't just random punishments. They are perfectly designed exams just for us. And real success isn't about passing the exam, it's about the choice you make right after you pass. Your next pop-up test, it's coming. It's inevitable. So the only real question is, are you going to chase the reward, or are you going to get back to your studies?